Okay.
You don't need to if you're doing share screen.
Yeah, I'm going to share screen here and just, oops, I do that every
There would
time.
be no need for the camera on the first one.
Okay. So let me get the week 12 materials up here for you. Hopefully you can see Blackboard there. And we are this week looking at chapters 14 and 15. We're still in the influencing topic, okay? And we're going to look at motivation in chapter 14, and in chapter 15 on Thursday, we will look at groups and teams. So I do want to point out to you that next Tuesday is Panther Prep Day that goes on for the entire day here on this campus. I'm not sure what they're doing in South Boston, but because of the this campus doing Panther Prep, and so is Christiana, we do not meet next Tuesday. Okay, that's a day for you to meet up with your advisors and get classes scheduled for summer and maybe even fall and talk about graduation, program requirements and that sort of stuff. So next Tuesday we do not meet. Okay, and that was planned in our calendar to begin with. So okay, so we're going to start off as we're looking at motivation today, asking just you all to think about what motivated you to come to class. I have a very small group here in Keysville today. Apparently some people weren't motivated to come to class, so think to yourself what motivated you to come. Is it that you want to get the extra points for perfect attendance? Is it that you want to you know, get a good grade when this is all over with? Is it that you just are thrilled by my lectures and you want to be here to hear me speak again? Okay. What is it that motivated you? Now take that and translate it to the business setting. What motivates you to come to work every day? Is it the paycheck? Is it the fact that you are contributing something to society in your job? Is it you've got bills in your mailbox and you've got to pay them? Okay, it could be a combination of all those things. So one of the most interesting motivators that's out there is Steve Jobs. Of course, he's passed away now, but got a little short video that really kind of sets the stage for motivation. Now, most of what's in your chapter and on the PowerPoints are a lot of different managerial theories. Contingency theory, XY theory, Hertzberg's theory, Maslow's theory, lots and lots of those. This takes a more kind of sets back and looks at motivational, but I found it to be just a wonderful, wonderful little intro to this class. So we're going to get started with that. I'm going to see what's showing here on the screen. So I may have to share screen again. So does everybody have the video?
Yeah.
Okay, no sound though. Let me get my sound going.
Is the monitor like that?
This?
Yeah.
Nope. Turn it off. Let's see here. Oh, it's muted right there. Okay. I need to get it up.
You may have to turn up the volume way up
to
for
Apple
them
to
to
turn
hear
their
it.
company around. He had employees, customers, investors, all.
Let's start.
Today I'm going to be doing a leadership
Also, master volume
breakdown of
mainly
Steve
go up
Jobs.
as
And I
well.
say leadership very specifically because unlike a lot of the people you might have seen me do on this channel before, Steve Jobs was not the world's most likable guy. In fact, a lot of the people that worked most closely with him would describe him as very abrasive. But what he was undeniably a master at was inspiring and leading people. When he came back to Apple to turn that company around, he had employees, customers, investors, all who were doubting what Apple was capable of. Yet he led them to be literally the most profitable company in the world at one point in time. So what I want to do is talk about how he was able to do that. And it starts with a vision.
There needs to be someone
Ian.
and reiterator of the vision.
Can y'all hear?
A little bit, but it's a little low.
Yeah, this is turned up as high as it can go here. So you may have to push the speaker up at the front of the room there and make it a little louder because we've got it as high as it can go over here and on this.
Check the actual speaker behind you as well. Check that dial and make sure that it's at max. Because that may be part of the problem. That dial.
This
under-
dial right here.
There's a volume. If you look on the screen, you can actually see what it's set to.
Oh,
Like
okay.
dead center, that's the volume. That also means that other campus probably hear it themselves. So just make sure you turn it down after.
Okay. All right, let's try again and see how.
Because there's
Woo!
a lot of work to do. And a lot of times, you know, when you have to walk 1,000 miles and you take the first step, it's like a long ways. And it really helps if there's someone there saying, well, we're one step closer. You know, the goal definitely exists. It's not just a mirage out there. So in 1,001 little and sometimes larger ways, the vision needs to be reiterated. I do that a lot.
So this is perhaps the most important role of a leader, is to set a clear, achievable, and persuasive vision. Because whether you're managing a group of small people or an entire company, that group will tear itself apart as it runs in the direction of individuals. What it needs is a uniting purpose, a uniting vision that is constantly in everybody's minds so that they are all moving in the same direction to move that company or that group forward. So I want to talk about now what exactly the vision that Steve had set forward for Apple was and why it was so compelling.
What we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world today. That's what we do.
Now, this is the core vision, the core value, whatever, the core passion, whatever you want to call it, that Steve Jobs had set out for his employees and for the people who bought his products. It's that people with passion can change the world. And I want to talk about why this vision, while seemingly very broad, is actually incredibly effective. One, it's very simple. Almost any of the marketing messages that you've heard from Apple or Steve Jobs boil down to just a few words, certainly one sentence. So if you think back, there was the iPod campaign that was 1,000 songs in your pocket. The first time that I saw Steve Jobs talk about what the computer was, he said it's like a bicycle for the mind. You need to keep your vision, your set of values very, very simple, because your employees, the people beneath you, the people who are buying your products, they need to be able to communicate it succinctly to the people around them. Step two, and this is seemingly contradictory, this isn't about, we're going to be the #1 computer maker in the entire world, which is what the mission is for a lot of companies. This goes beyond being #1. This goes beyond making a lot of money. This goes to a fundamental human need, which is to do something that matters, right? To have work that has a lasting impact that can change the world. If your vision isn't inspiring people on an emotional level, if you're just firing them up with the promise of higher compensation, that vision will fall flat on its head. The last thing is that Steve Jobs didn't just have this vision in his head. He was ruthless about living by it. A lot of people, when they talk about company visions or even their own personal life visions, it's a flowery set of words that they don't actually make decisions by. Steve Jobs was ruthless in cutting product lines that he didn't think were going to change the world, that he didn't think Apple could be the best at. He constantly was refocusing his people on this vision of doing something big that was going to change the world. And honestly, that was their heyday, was when they came out with the iPod, the iPad, even the iMac before that. That focus on the vision is what made it so powerful. That is what inspired the people around him. And if you look at his employees, as we'll do in just a second, they picked up the vision loud and clear.
I have to say, of all the people I've met, there was nobody, clearly nobody. When you were next to him and he was talking to you, you could feel the electricity in your body. You could feel his charisma. And it wasn't just because he was a cult leader or anything. You just actually could feel it, because I'm not necessarily a cult follower. And he made you feel he could inspire you. He made you feel like you could do anything. And as long as you believe that, you really could do anything, as long as you're willing to sacrifice everything else.
So really, that's what Steve Jobs did for the people around him, the people under him that worked for him, is he made them feel like they could not only change the world, but that anything was possible if they worked hard enough. And so they were willing to go to really extreme measures, all the kind of things off that he asked for that oftentimes were, quite frankly, technologically infeasible and ridiculous and very, very hard to pull off. But they managed to do it because of this belief that it was possible, that passionate people could change the world. Now, this was not the only thing that Steve Jobs had going for him. In fact, there's a lot of other stuff. But the second one that I want to touch on now is what got people emotionally riled up. And it's that Steve Jobs spoke in high stakes metaphors. Let's check it out.
Sun is, if you will, our friend, because they're going to spend their marketing money to convince people to move into the segment. But the minute they made their choice to move into the segment, whether we convinced them or Sun has convinced them, Sun and Next are mortal enemies.
So there you go, mortal enemies. Not something you'd expect someone who talks about computers, microprocessors, and workstations to describe a business battle as, but that gets people fired up.
In other words, if we zoom out at the big picture, it would be a shame to have lost the war because we won a few battles. And I sort of feel like I and some of the rest of us are concentrated too much on the smaller battles. We have to grab, and we're not keeping the war in perspective. And the war is called survival.
Again, he's talking about survival, war, smaller battles. These are all very human, emotionally driven, archetypal things almost. These go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, and people have a lot of reference points to think about what war, battle, survivor means all the way throughout history, some people even from personal experience. So when you talk in these sort of terms, in these sort of metaphors, and not just in, okay, we've got to win or else we might lose our jobs, this gets people emotionally engaged. And that was something that Steve Jobs was able to do to an incredible level with his own employees.
Well, Big Blue dominates the entire computer industry. The entire information age. Was George Orwell right?
So that's Steve Jobs talking about IBM, Big Blue, and how they have the majority of market share in the 1980s. And again, this is not one that I love, but it is incredibly effective. Creating an enemy. Throughout Apple's history, Steve Jobs always had an enemy in mind. At some point it was Microsoft, Big Blue there. Other times it was just conformity in general. There's the PC guy versus the Mac guy. There's always an antithesis in the way that he speaks. And having that enemy, again, gets people incredibly fired up. They feel like their survival is on the line. They feel like they need to win a battle, and they work that much harder. Not a tactic that I'm a huge fan of, because I don't think that the world needs to be perceived in terms of us versus them all the time. But from Steve Jobs' perspective, this worked. This absolutely got people working harder for him. So you start with this very clear, very simple vision that gets people moving in the same direction, something that they're excited about. You add to that this jet fuel of emotionally charged metaphor. And in the case of Jobs, he talked about wars, he talked about survival, and he added this element of this looming enemy that people needed to fight and struggle against. That gets people moving very, very passionately. But that all falls apart if one piece isn't there. And fortunately for Steve Jobs, it's something that he had in spades, which is conviction. Steve Jobs believed everything that he said to a fault. He had this vision of the world that he truly felt was going to come true. And when he communicated with people, they sensed how much he believed it. And that certainty made them jump onto his bandwagon. So I want to go now to John Sculley. This is a guy who was asked to be the CEO of Apple when Steve Jobs was working there. He was currently the CEO of Pepsi. And here he is recounting the story of how Steve Jobs got him to leave his cushy gig at Pepsi.
And then he looked up at me and just stared at me with this stare that only Steve Jobs has. And he said, "You want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?" And I just gulped, because I knew I would wonder for the rest of my life, what I would have missed.
There you have it. That is what fires people up. Now, I don't have a ton of time to talk about how to develop conviction. Maybe that's a topic for another video. If you're interested in that, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But there's one way the conviction comes through very, very clearly, and it's in the choice of words that we use. Our words betray the way that we feel all the time. And if you look at Steve Jobs, he oftentimes didn't talk in terms of possibilities. He talked in certainties. He would say, we are this. We will release this computer by this date. He talked as if things had already happened, which is actually a very similar thing to Conor McGregor, if you've seen that breakdown. So I just want to show one example when he come back to Apple, how he talked about the company bouncing back. And it wasn't, we will likely do this, you know, we can do this. It is, we will do this.
I really deeply appreciate all the commitment that's in this room and the people not in this room to turning this company. This company's absolutely going to turn around. As a matter of fact, I think the question now is not, can we turn it around? I think that's the booby prize. I think it's, can we make Apple really great?
There you go. This company is absolutely going to turn around. What I recommend that you do is you pay particular attention to the words that you find yourself using when you're speaking to people trying to persuade them. Oftentimes we say exactly what we think and we show other people exactly how we feel. See if you are speaking with certainty, or actually if you're betraying the fact that you're very uncertain yourself. This isn't something you think. This is communicated in 1,000 micro expressions in your vocal tonality and in your word choice. So if you want to have the conviction around something you're saying, you first need to have confidence. So I set up a separate video with an exercise that is designed to give you a scientifically proven boost of confidence inside of 60 seconds so that you can speak with the conviction of someone like Steve Jobs. This is the type of thing that I do before I record a video, before I get on stage, and it can basically take you from that feeling of nervous anxiety, not speaking very clearly, tripping over your words, to speaking much more fluidly, much more connected with what you have to say, and communicating to the people around you in a much more effective manner. So if you want to see what that video is, it's something that you can learn in just a few minutes and implement in 60 seconds. Go ahead, click the link now. It'll take you to another page where you go, drop your email, and you can watch that video. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and subscribe. Entirety of 2016. I'm excited about that. And if you have any topics, any people that you would like to contribute, please upload the other comments that have the people and topics you'd like to do. That's how I'm going to be deciding what videos to do.
Okay, well, lots of good little hints there as far as how to motivate people, but also how to motivate yourself, how to get yourself geared up to be a leader for other people. So as a manager, you all are going to have a primary responsibility of actually motivating other employees to do their job. And if you keep that focus on the vision, okay, show them why it's important for them to be doing that job, okay? Let's say you're working at a McDonald's and you're a manager at McDonald's. The process, what you're trying to do is not make hamburgers. You're trying to make life easier for people so that they can get food. Fast food. It's all about service. Okay, so it can make a big difference if you look at that vision, go back and look at the big picture of it. Just like I used to work for a telecommunications company. I used to wonder day in and day out, was I really doing anything for the benefit of the world? But if you step back and look at the broader picture, and I was helping to bring communication for everyone, it made a difference on the way I looked at my job. I happened to be an accountant for them. And I was pretty much a goal. It's sort of hard to think day after day what crunching numbers does, but if you look at yourself as the keys in the broader picture, it's much better. Okay, so let me get this PowerPoint up for us, and we can take a look at some of the things that, like I said, very theory-oriented type chapter as far as your book goes. the same thing. Okay, can you all see the PowerPoint?
No.
No? Okay, I may have to,
Killed it. Share.
wrong share, okay.
You have to go to Zoom. Then share screen through that.
And
Hold
let's,
on. Go up
this one?
that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And that will show them that screen over here.
All right, so now do you see it?
You're on the short keys.
No, of course not. It's been 2 weeks. What is it?
And next. Key for previous.
Okay, all right. But I can't see this. I have to look over here, right? Y'all have to look over here. How do I
We
get
have, it should be minimized, which means you can probably just click on it and pull it right up. It's at the bottom. You see the banner at the bottom of the screen. Just click PowerPoint, like hover over it, and then the big one. That's the one. That's the other one. Do it again, except click the.
This one?
That one, yeah. Okay, now you can use N and P, and that'll.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so I got that over there. All right, next. No, it's not letting me do.
Reselect the
What?
Go back down to PowerPoint,
Uh-huh.
and you can hover over it, and you'll click on the right window again.
This one?
Yeah. Now you can use N and P, and it'll work.
Okay.
See, and you can see it up there.
Okay, good,
They're
good,
seeing
good,
the
good.
screen.
All right, that's wonderful. Okay, so we're going to look at what motivation actually is. I think that was pretty well defined in the little video that we just saw. But we're going to spend a little bit of time about those theories because I think that video actually did a good job with handling a lot of these learning objectives. So it definitely gave us an understanding of the importance and some specific strategies that might work. Okay, so motivation is defined as an inner state that causes an individual to learn in a way that ensures the accomplishment of some goal. Okay, I had a boss that used to call it the fire in the belly. Okay, it's what makes you do. It makes you go to work and actually have motivation to do the very best you can do, not just earn a paycheck. Motivation determines why people act the way they do. It gives them initiative, persistence, and it directs you towards job performance. Okay. Again, I said this chapter has a lot of theories in here, some process theories and some content theories. The process theories are going to talk about why or how individuals are motivated and look at steps occurring when it's motivated. The content theories are going to look at an individual's internal characteristics and give us an understanding of what needs individuals have and how to satisfy those needs. The process theories are the needs goal theory, the Vroom expectancy theory, the equity theory, and the Porter-Lawler theory. And each one of them is just briefly discussed on the PowerPoint slides, a little more details in your book. The needs goal theory, it just emphasizes that the employee feels that there is some need to accomplish something and achieve their goals. So motivation starts with the individual who feels there is a need. Okay, maybe like think about your decision to come to college. It all started with you feeling a need to further your education. That transforms into some behavior. You actually picked up the phone and called here, got on the computer, looked at the website in order to reduce your felt need. So setting goals helps make this a whole lot easier for you. So as a manager, you need to understand individual employee needs, okay? Not everyone is going to have the same needs. It will differ from person to person. Sometimes unvalued rewards do not motivate employees, so you have to offer whatever they value in order to satisfy those needs. The Vroom expectancy theory, again, kind of based on what we just talked about, the felt needs there. An individual's desire to perform a behavior will determine the motivation strength, and that motivation is going to fluctuate as that desire increases or decreases. They also give you an equation for that particular formula. Perceived value of the result of performing behavior times the probability that's perceived that will actually materialize. Those two multiplied together give you motivation strength. The Vroom expectancy theory is a combination of perceived value and perceived probability. That's why those two are multiplied in the formula there. Next, here we go. All right, equity theory of motivation has to do with whether an employee feels, that sounds like it's really bouncing back, whether it feels, whether they've been treated fairly or not. If they do feel that they've been treated unfairly, they will react in order to try to fight that inequity. Okay, that leaves you with changing their work outputs, changing compensation, changing perceptions, or actually coming to a point where that person needs to leave. So why do people feel like they are not being treated equally? Okay, could be the work assignments they're given, it could be promotions that others are getting, their compensation may be different. Their ratings reports or certain assignments they've been given. All of those are emotionally charged. And when we talk about motivation, we're talking a lot about emotion being involved in it. And it relates to self-worth. Okay, you guys know I'm not real into these little flow charts, so you can perhaps take the next slide a little bit more on the Porter-Lawler theory of motivation. It's also a needs-driven type of theory that say that our needs drive our behavior, and any rewards you get are going to come from whatever action and effort you put forth. So the individual is going to be looking at the rewards value before deciding how much effort to put forth. And their perceived fairness of the reward is going to increase their satisfaction or influence their satisfaction there. All right, so those were all the process theories in this chapter. The other set, the one coming up here, are the content theories. Okay. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is probably one of the most quoted theories. If you've ever taken a psychology class, I'm sure you've run across that. We also have Alderfer's ERG theory. Arduous, I don't know if I'm saying that's right or not, maturity, immaturity continuum, and McClelland's acquired needs theory. Okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is kind of a pyramid that says that we have to satisfy the bottom level of the pyramid before we can move on to the next level. So we'll always have to satisfy our physiological needs, such as food and water and shelter, before we go on to our security needs, then our social needs, our esteem needs, and at the top of the ladder or the pyramid are our self-actualization needs. So faced to a situation, we're going to satisfy our lower level needs before we do our upper level needs. So there's some examples. I gave you the physiological: food, water, shelter, rest, sex, and air. Security, social needs, you want to be free from harm, bodily, economic disaster. Social need is desire for love, companionship, friendship. Esteem need is the desire for respect. And then the top, the self-actualization need, is to try to maximize your potential individual characteristics. Okay, the second theory, the ERG, E stands for existence need, which is the need to be physically well. The relatedness need, that's for satisfying your interpersonal relationships, so that's sort of the social side of things. And the G, the growth need, which is the need for continuing personal growth and development. So again, very similar to Maslow's, starting off with the basic needs and then going upward there. The maturity-immaturity theory says that we are going to progress along a continuum that deals with our own personal development. We typically progress from immaturity to maturity as we move along that continuum. Okay, there's the stages that you would go through, where you're passive, then you depend on others, then you're capable of behaving in a lot of different ways. Deeper, more lasting interest, long-term perspective, aspiring to occupy an equal subordinate position, and then control over self. McClelland's acquired needs theory says you acquire through life experiences, you will have a need for achievement, a need for power, and a need for affiliation. So the achievement need is very strong in some people who are motivated to accomplish something, challenging yet achievable goals. Okay. If you don't have a high achievement need, you'll probably stay away from a lot of responsibilities. The need for power is the ability to influence other people. People like that enjoy decision making, like being in competitive situations. And then finally, the need for affiliation is more team-centered management, where you are influencing subordinates to work through team efforts. Okay, so this little chart tells you about you have appropriate and inappropriate behavior of your employees when their needs go unsatisfied. Okay, tension, frustration, withdrawal, aggression, absenteeism. Okay. So the strategies to try to motivate your employees in an organization is certainly communication, a basic tool that you'll use. Douglas McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y kind of identifies your perception about your employees. Theory X managers have negative assumptions about employees. They think employees are lazy, they'll avoid work. So these are not very good managers, because Theory Y managers believe that employees, workers, can be creative, that they seek responsibility, and they can exercise self-control. They're definitely the better type manager. So try some job rotation, job enlargement, job enrichment, even flex time works well to help motivate your employees. Hertzberg had a two-factor theory on job enrichment. He says that we have hygiene maintenance factors and motivating factors. The hygiene maintenance factors relate to the environment of the work itself, and when those factors are undesirable, then the worker becomes dissatisfied. Whereas the motivating factors relate to the work itself. Anytime that you take care of motivating factors, then the worker becomes more satisfied and will perform their task well. All right, that's Maslow again. There's some advantages and disadvantages of flex time. Flex time, of course, allows employees to not have to do the traditional 9-to-5 job every day. They may not have to commute at all. They may be able to work from home and so on. So you can look at some advantages of it, but there are some downsides too. B.F. Skinner, another psychology type theory about motivation members, reinforcement, both positive and negative, punishment and extinction. I'm sure you can see how some of these work well and others are a little bit more negative. And then a Likert management system, system 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you'll look at the next slide there, you see it's kind of a little matrix. System 1 focuses more short term. We've got system 4 and production going up rather than going down in system 1. So you'll see effects there on the production level. Monetary incentives are certainly not to be sneezed at, bonuses and stock plans and so on, but non-monetary motivation can come from promoting from within and an emphasis on quality. Okay, so lots of theories. I'm sure you can be aware that a lot of those will show up on your next test. Yes. And definitely so. Have those PowerPoints. And I looked over the grades. Looked pretty good for that last test. I think y'all are catching on and getting the hang of doing these computerized tests and being able to use the book as a reference tool and so on. I had a few people who have not yet taken the test, and I have sent out some notifications there, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I know we did have a snow day last Wednesday, wasn't it, I believe?
Last
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it was Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay,
Yeah, it was
maybe it was.
Wednesday.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We've had so many snows, it's gotten
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
out of control, and I hope we're done with snows, but who knows what's going to happen yet. So if that was a factor, please let me know. But otherwise, getting a big fat 0 on one of those grades is not going to help anybody, that's for sure. So I have not given you any other homework assignments for this week other than the reading. So you do need to read and keep up with what's going on Blackboard with videos and that sort of stuff. So, but no other things that are actually assigned to you. So remember, I will see you Thursday this week, but not next Tuesday. And we're a little bit early today getting out because I have got to meet with my administrative assistant and get some things processed here before she leaves a little bit after 4. So I am going to be out of here a little bit early today. I did remember to record, so you should be able to get this. And otherwise, I will see you Thursday from wherever. Okay? All right. So it's good to have y'all, and I will see you then.